Hello, everyone, and welcome to Osquery Office Hours. It is late October. Here in Boston, we have a surprisingly sunny day, and I hope the weather is nice where other people are. Welcome. Today, announcements. I don't have anything. Other folks? Okay. Questions, issues, PRs, anything people want to discuss that might not merit a full agenda item? Okay. I have an agenda item, which is that we should cut an Osquery release. We talked about doing it last week, and we wanted to merge a couple of things first. And did we get those merged? Let's see.
Indeed, we talked about it. I think that there's just one that we intended to merge. We were waiting on the CLA. I got a notification that I need to do something related to the CLA. And let me see if I can actually complete that.
Someone could thumb 8696, but it's not strictly necessary. It's just README docs and things.
That was, is that your PR?
That's my PR. Drop a link into chat. That's the only one I see that looks ready to be merged. We've got a couple that are blocked on CLA signatures. There's this boost upgrade, which is still in draft mode, so I assume that that needs more work.
Yeah, we're still waiting for some dependencies to be upgraded. I know we talked about it for a while, but it's not. There's no way for us to upgrade Boost without having those dependencies be upgraded first. So it's going to be in draft mode for a little while longer.
Okay, it's always at the top of the list, you know.
I know, very desirable feature, but the dependency upgrades are non-trivial, so it's going to take a bit.
In theory, number 8701 from Jacob Shandling should be ready to merge, except the CLA. I don't know how to.
What's up, Zach?
I'm trying to figure out how to get the CLA started. Like, I got an email from Easy CLA saying, like, this person's from Fleet. Can you approve them? You can add them to the approval list. If you go to the console page, then I go to the console page, and there's like, I can't figure out how to add them to the approval list. So
you can open a support ticket with the Linux Foundation.
Okay. Yeah, like it says if someone's part of the Fleet GitHub organization, they should be approved, and yet doesn't work.
That Jacob person does not appear to be publicly.
Oh, really?
This is Jacob Shandling.
Yes.
If I look at his page, it does not show me that he's part of the Fleet organization.
Okay, interesting. It shows me that he is.
Yeah, but you're in Fleet, so you get to see all the non-public ones.
Right. Well, okay, so interesting. View at, oh, so there's a way for someone to be part of an organization, but not publicly, huh?
Yes. What I don't remember is if that's an end user setting or a administrator setting.
Okay, so maybe Easy CLA can't see it either, then.
Yeah.
Seems plausible.
Yes.
Huh. Okay. That definitely gives me something to like look at.
Yeah, and you can probably see this yourself in an incognito window.
Yeah, that makes sense. I should be able to.
And
let's
like,
see.
if you look at me, I probably show as being in like 3 or 4 of the orgs that I'm in, but I'm probably in 2 dozen. So, you know.
Right. Yeah, and I can see it for Jacob here when I'm in incognito. Okay. Thank you for pointing that out. I feel like that should be the hint that I need to make this work.
Great. In that case, I'll assume you can make progress with that, and then we can get that merged and in.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, and then I'll cut the release.
Yeah. You're welcome to merge my docs PR, but honestly, I don't know why I care. It's not like it gets in there.
Yeah, that one won't go in before or after, but I can give you an approval on it.
Yeah, I'll merge it then. But I mean, none of it's code. None of it's
Right, it is. Yeah,
in a
it
release.
doesn't matter whether it goes before or after, but
Yeah.
nevertheless, here we go.
Micah, since you're here, can I persuade you to look at poll 8200, which I think might just be deprecated and old with the updates you made to how we calculate block devices? I think
I will take a look.
thing, and I bet we can just close 8200 now as deprecated.
I believe this should be closed. I wasn't able to fully vet their device because they had a different block device configuration than I did. But yeah, I did add the model field and serial number field.
Did those get added in 8182 or in a different thing? In a follow-up?
It should have been in 8182.
Okay.
Yeah, 8182.
Okay. And one of the things I merged in the documentation PR that Zach just approved is more detailed instructions on how we cut releases. Okay, so it sounds like, Zach, you're going to untangle the CLA stuff on that one PR.
Yeah, and it's not like that PR is that important, but last week we talked about, or 2 weeks ago we talked about merging that and then cutting the release, and then I think I just got distracted with other things.
There was another PR we did clean up and merge.
Okay, good. So at least there were some reasons, but I think this seems like it should be easy. And if it's not, then maybe we'll go ahead and cut the release anyway.
And I don't know. While I agree this is a very small PR, it always feels good to have your work merged in. So I don't know how this human feels. Anyhow, that's everything I have to talk about. Anything other people want to bring in?
Any Windows experts on the call here? That's probably not really any of us, huh?
You have a more detailed question than that.
I do potentially, but I'm well, okay. Here, I'll just bring this up. So on Windows, the listening ports table, but also the process open sockets table, because listening ports table is built on process open sockets. That's true for all platforms as far as I can tell. But on Windows, if you have a socket that's listening on both IPv4 and IPv6 addresses, it shows up as two different rows, almost as if it's two different sockets. There's not like a file descriptor associated with it, so you can't really tell whether it's the same socket or not. On Mac and Linux, you don't seem to get that effect. And I guess the question is like, the question I have is, does this like match with a mental model that Windows users might have around IPv4 versus IPv6 and sockets? And like, is it fine to
Let me
just
ask you a
leave
question.
it like that?
I got questions.
Yeah.
When you say it shows up as 1 versus 2 rows, as someone who might write a program that listens on a socket, I think sometimes I can choose whether it's listening on IPv4, IPv6, or both of them. So what happens if I have
Yes.
different programs listening on the same port? One on
I don't think you can do that. I don't think multiple sockets can be opened on the same port.
if they're different. Well, they definitely can if you're using different IP addresses, and I wonder if they can if you're using IPv4 and IPv6. Right? Because if I have multiple addresses assigned to a host,
Oh, okay. Let's
if I
see. So,
bind differently.
so you're saying on a single network interface, I can open multiple sockets with the same port?
That's what I'm wondering.
I'm not sure that you can.
Maybe I'm full of shit.
I think that each network interface should only allow opening one socket. I think that would be true across all three platforms. Not certain.
Yeah, I'm not sure because I think the underlying C code, you have to be really explicit about which of those things you want.
So
And
apparently, when I dug into this morning, what I learned was like by default on Windows, if you don't specify, you actually get and you're listing on all addresses. You know, like by giving 0, essentially, it by default listens on both IPv4 and IPv6 addresses. If you apparently on Mac and Linux, the default is the opposite. Which is neither here nor there, really. But I guess the point is a socket can be configured to be listening on just one or the other, or both. And I guess then my question is like, is it expected behavior for Osquery to show one socket listening on both as though it's sort of like two sockets each listening on one?
my feeling is that this is somewhere where most people would assume that you can only really have one thing on a port, and it's weird to have like different things on ports. And that if you get down into the gritty details about how the OS models it and how like hardcore network engineers think about it or something, that suddenly having multiple rows makes sense. So I feel like this is one of those places where reality and expectations don't match.
Yeah. Yeah. In the end, like I almost didn't bring it up here because I was like, you know what? We've been doing this for years in Osquery. If no one's complained, it seems like it's good enough. And then I guess you were interested and persuaded me to put it out there. But now that we've gotten to that, I think again I'm coming back to just like, well, if no one's complaining, like it seems like it's good enough.
Does that mean on Mac, a single socket can listen to IPv4 and IPv6 connections?
It can apparently, in my cursory research, which was done through an LLM, so it could just be making things up. But as far as I can tell, there is a flag that you can set that will inform.
So at least on my Mac, I now have two different processes listening on port 8888, one on V4 and one on V6.
Okay.
And I have not yet launched Osquery to see how Osquery handles this.
Well, how does it?
I don't know. I haven't turned on Osquery yet.
Okay.
I have to remember where on my local disk Osquery is installed.
Oh, you don't have it in path.
No,
Yeah, one thing I was trying to refresh. It's you can have the same port on the same IP because, on the different IPs if they are IPv4, IPv6, because yeah, IPv4 and V6 are a lower layer, a different layer anyway, the IP layer, and ports are the transport, so TCP, UDP, etc. So
IPv4 is a lower layer or higher layer?
No, IPv4, like the IP layer is lower, so, but the point is that it is separated from where the ports concept comes in, which is at the level of TCP, UDP, etc. So the IP protocol doesn't have the concept of ports. And so, yeah, it basically creates a new namespace. IPv4 is a different namespace than IPv6.
Okay.
Now, I don't recall, as far as I remember, yeah, the socket, POSIX socket. I mean, I guess it kind of depends. There might be a different view from user space and from kernel space on what's getting opened. And yes, there's also a way where you can have a single socket with IPv6, but it also supports IPv4.
Yeah.
Because it's
in that case, presumably you wouldn't be able to have two programs open with the same socket. Same port. Not the same socket, same port.
It shouldn't. Like, there should be only a single application. Yeah, listening on the. Actually, I'm not sure how it is implemented because it could be transparently translated. I mean, okay, it could be that, yes, you can only have practically a single listening server on the IPv6, but client that connects through the IPv4 and the same port will still work because it will get translated. So like the IPv6 will get used, but yeah.
So, do all of this, does anyone feel like there's something that needs to change? You know, Osquery here.
So you were saying, yeah, it's too much
Does
time.
Windows report it as one row or two rows?
Oh, yeah.
Windows reports 2 rows.
So I just launched two processes, one bound to V4, one bound to V6, and it produced 2 rows, which seems correct on my Mac. They have different PIDs.
Yeah.
On Windows, I mean, I'm using Netcat, so it's a little bit hard for me to create an easy one that listens on all the things. I suspect that I could actually be binding directly to binding directly to IP addresses if I have multiple IP addresses assigned to this host, right? Because you can bind straight to an IP address instead of the 0th. And I would expect those to show up as different rows as well. Like I would kind of expect each bind to be a different row. So that Windows has 2 rows for effectively different bind calls doesn't sound wrong to me. Like if a user
Well, I
wants,
guess the thing that's not clear to me that I didn't verify by like writing C code, but I verified by understanding what the default behavior is. Apparently on Windows, a single bind call by default does bind to both IPv4 and IPv6. So I guess the question is like, should Osquery be generating 1 row per IPv4, IPv6, or 1 row per like bind call? Maybe either way is good enough. And I think that's what I keep coming back to, is that like, seems like probably either way is good enough.
I feel like either way is good enough. I feel like if someone really wants to be like nitpicky, they can write, a group by statement. And otherwise, I feel like we should be less opinionated and reflect what the OS thinks as best we can, because otherwise we run into problems when we try and when we try and be opinionated to create an abstraction layer. Like if we merge the Windows ones, then we'll find that like in 5 years more things are dual stack, and now it's all weird and wrong. So
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
usually in favor of like just letting the OS do what the OS does, and customers who want to like collect this data and shove it into a seam or something, like they can figure out how to write their detection rules, and it probably doesn't make any difference to them.
Yeah.
So weird quirks about operating systems.
There's also a couple of Windows flags to forcibly bind a socket to an in-use IP address and port. This is kind of separate from the issue at hand, but I think it makes sense to have multiple rows being reported for each bind rather than distinction between IPv4 and IPv6.
Yeah, rebind is like a whole nother can of worms too. But yeah.
I did not know that was possible. Does it kick out the older one then?
No, waits until
It's
the
on the
older-
timer.
This is how like bindings, all network stuff's weird because my memory is an old POSIX too. You would bind to a port, something would connect, that would spin off, and you would effectively rebind to the port. So like,
Yes, I think that is
That's
roughly still what happens.
yeah,
Like when you've got a socket in listen, then it creates a new socket when something connects.
yeah, and you
But
can
the new
sort of,
socket isn't a listener, it's the new socket is in like a different state.
yeah. Okay, I have to duck out to a 1:30 meeting. I think this behavior is probably correct, if confusing.
Yeah, I think we're probably good here.
Thank
Do
you
folks
all.
have other things that you'd like to discuss? Thank you, Seth. I think we can probably call it here then. Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.